Welcome, vintage players. Challenge time. We're going to continue our explorations with the card Ledger Shredder from Streets of New Capenna. People around the competitive Magic community have been figuring out what I learned when I looked at this card, and that was it's very good. It's seeing a lot of experimental play in Legacy, Modern, Pioneer, Standard, the Arena formats. Actually, just every 60 card format where this card is legal in, it's seeing some amount of experimental play. Who knows if that will actually stick? You do need to find a correct shell to play it in, but in other formats, it's easier to get better value off the graveyard. So I could see it. It's interesting because in Vintage, you get a lot of value because everyone's playing 2 spells a turn. But in the other formats, you get a lot of value from your looting and your bird size. So you actually have like this card actually has different strengths depending on the format, which I think is pretty cool. So I have had a hard time finding exactly where it goes in Vintage. Because there are not a lot of extreme graveyard based strategies because of the prevalence of graveyard hate due to Bazaar of Baghdad, it's hard to get like a lot of value from the graveyard. So you kind of just have to be card selection and some amount of graveyard value. It works really well with Moxen, obviously, as it makes it easier to cast 2 spells. So I figured, well, what is a good deck that uses incremental graveyard value and wants to play Moxen? And that would be Tinker Breach. A classic version of Underworld Breach that is also speccing into Tinker Citadel plan. So you're seeing a full set of Moxen as well as the Soul Ring and the Mana Crypt and the top to play for a Tinker Citadel plan. But you're also seeing a minimal Breach package of 2 Breach, 1 Brain Freeze, 1 Black Lotus, no Petal. And this is not a new deck. This is a deck that people have been playing in the past. Just recently, Discover N and Andreas Echo Baron have been playing different versions of Tinker Breach. I made some small changes. I cut the 3rd Saga. I wasn't super thrilled with how the Saga was playing in the deck. The good thing about Saga in Breach is a lot of times it just is a tutor for Black Lotus, which I think is much more valuable than in more dedicated Saga decks. But I was also, there's a nice tweet where I had my Urza Saga Steel Enchantment. Whatever the enchantment that steals an enchantment called Steel Enchantment is. Yeah, that one did a lot of work on Twitter. So I've had some problems with Saga where it just wasn't really doing what I needed it to do. And the only thing you really needed to do is find Black Lotus. And so I do think that it makes sense to have some amount of Sagas, but also it just, doesn't tap for the right colors of mana. Makes you play some kind of like very odd game plan where you're not really progressing. So I think going down to 2 Saga instead of having 3 or 4 Sagas makes more sense to me. And then what else do I have in here? I put a Sphinx in because I was having some issues where like if I pitched my Brain Freeze to Force of Will and I didn't have like an early Ledger Shredder going, I was having some problems winning games. I was also having some problems versus like Heat Bears and all these kind of decks you see in leagues. So I did add the Sphinx back into the main. So now I have I have a Ledger Shredder option, I have an Underworld Breach option, I have a Sphinx option, and I have a Tinker option, Tinker Citadel option. So it gives me a lot of room to play around, which I like. Graveyard seems to be a hard matchup. I just think that the GAC decks right now, I think both GAC and Dredge are extremely strong decks right now. And even with having 7 cards in the sideboard for Graveyard, I'm not even sure that's enough, to be perfectly honest. I think the GAC and Dredge decks are just very, very powerful. I do have like 5 cards for Shops, and Shops is a little less existent, so maybe I need to start trimming Shops hate. 5 cards for Shops, and then 3 cards for different kind of blue decks. Flusterstorm and Pyroblast, and then I do have a Hydroblast for, like, there's been a pretty large uptick in Pyroblast-based decks, whether that be Underworld Breach or like Grixis Tinker and that kind of thing. So we have all those bases covered. We're going to play round 1 of this vintage challenge. I was just telling Not Me in chat that I think my list should be theoretically good. However, in leagues, I've had a very hard time. I think I went maybe 2-10 in leagues. I beat Doomsday twice, which was great, but I lost to basically every other deck in existence. I lost to Root Maze Mono Green Aggro. I lost to 5-color Lurrus Standstill. I lost to a variety of Tinker PO decks, a variety of Dredge decks. I don't know if I personally have been on a very cold streak in all of Magic. Like I've lost all my arena monies. So it could just be me. Let's find out today. Huh. Well, I never beat Standstill, so that's just kind of normal. It wasn't really like, it was weird because it wasn't really like the Ledger Shredders that were bad. It was like the Breach combo wasn't super good, and then also everyone kept tinkering me. So I don't know. This hand is not bad. We have access to Soul Ring, top, spin top, untap, demonic tutor, but we don't have any permission. What is Frozen Sun on usually? I can't remember. I have played them recently, but I felt like they used to be a Golos player for some reason, but maybe that's wrong. Froze and Sun 4. Grixis Underworld Breach, actually. They got 6th place in a super back in February. Interesting. If I assume we're on a Breach Mirror, this is not a terrible hand. All right, let's try it. I will not be in Italy for this 4 seasons, but I do recommend people go. It's a great tournament series. Vintage and Legacy. Good food, good people. It's a good time. I think I'm going to lead on Volcanic Island in case my opponent wastelands me. That way I don't lose my Underground Sea. Another thing that I did was... fucking hell. Originally in this list, I had played Night's Whisper instead of Preordain because I was like, oh, I'll utilize my Moxen and play Night's Whisper because I hate Preordain. The problem with that is you have to put a second Underground Sea in your deck, and I hated that. I really disliked the second Underground Sea. So now we're back to 1 Underground Sea, and if this gets wastelanded, it gets pretty hard to cast my Demonic Tutor. To be fair, there are now only 2 black cards, there are 2 castable black cards in the deck, Demonic Tutor and Vampiric Tutor. Both of them, I think, are must-plays actually in Breach just because they're so good at assembling the combo. But no other black cards, so you don't really need more than just 1 Underground Sea. I guess you also technically have, like, Saga that can theoretically fetch a Jet or a Black... I mean, it's always going to fetch Black Lotus, almost always, but... So you can cast it off Black Lotus as well, but... They're just so powerful that you have to include them, but you don't really want to play a second Underground Sea in your deck, so... All right, so I'm going to assume we're on a Breach Mirror. However, I would think my opponent will not be on Tinker Breach. They might be on like the Lelia Ragavan, like 6M style Breach. Ooh. All right. I think I'm going to Demonic for a Mana Crypt. Use my Mana Crypt to spin my top. And that way I can hopefully find a Force, Fluster, or Pyroblast to protect a turn 2 Tinker. It's like a little greedy to be turning my Tinker into a card that is not card advantage. But I don't know. I'm a Tinker gamer. I think I see a Tinker. It's my most viable game plan at the moment. Nice meme, not me. Very nice meme. All right, so I actually found Force and Pyroblast. So ask and you shall receive. I like what I've done. All right, so now if we don't die, we get to untap. And play. We'll probably play our Volcanic Island. That lets us play around Fluster. And then we have access to Force. And if we need to, we can draw into Pyro. The one thing is, putting a Bolas's Citadel into play with this deck is not really a guaranteed victory. This deck is quite bad at killing with a Citadel in play, I have found. I might just be biased, or my experiences with PO have tainted me. But I found that I lose some games that I put Citadel in play. You don't normally want to play your land here, but it does let me just play around an initial Flusterstorm, which I think is probably useful. The problem with this deck is it just doesn't have a lot of cards that matter. So you can go through a large quantity of your deck and not find the things that you need. I'm going to be really sad if I get Flusterstorm and Pyroblasted here, but I think it's okay. Looks like I'm going to get Flusterstormed. Kind of unfortunate. I don't think it makes sense to like wait or anything. I'm going to spin and see if I can find one of my own 2 Flusterstorms, but Mystical Tutor. All right, I'm just going to keep Pyroblast on top for my opponent's turn here. And then I'll probably upkeep spin and just cast Preordain. I don't really like the idea of mysticaling for Ancestral very much. Maybe I do. The problem, well, if we don't Pyroblast, then maybe I'll just spin and we'll go for draw Mystical, cast Mystical, draw into Ancestral, cast Ancestral. Maybe something like that. All right, so my opponent had 2 pieces of counter magic to beat our 1.5 pieces of counter magic. Not much to say there. We have a nice graveyard if we were to draw Breach, so that's nice. I actually think this is a very worthwhile Pyroblast target. I think giving my opponent the opportunity to like brainstorm and fetch away here would be pretty catastrophic. All right. So my opponent is left with a Ponder and 2 cards, and we're left with a Top and a Mystical and a Preordain. It's not great. Oh. Oh, I'm just getting Breach comboed? Wow. Well, I feel like we played with the cards that we were given, and I don't hate the game plan I chose, but I guess this is the upside of not playing a Tinker-based strategy in your Breach deck, is that you have probably more Flusterstorms and Pyroblasts, I guess. All right, well, that's unfortunate. I guess I'll like let this happen just to see a little bit more cards in their deck. I basically couldn't have chose a worse strategy to try to beat a Pyroblast Flusterstorm hand. Tinkering is definitely weak to that. Atawara. Utawara. Soaring City. Okay. Ragavan. Saga. Expressive Iteration. Interesting. All right. Against Breach, I will bring in a Soul Guide Lantern. I will take out a Sphinx. I will take out an island. I will bring in... Man, do I want to just bring in Ley Lines? Does Otawara bounce Leyline? Yeah, interesting. Can bring in Ley Lines. Bring in Hydroblast. Do I want to bring in Pyro and Fluster? I really don't like overloading on Pyro and Fluster in this kind of matchup. I kind of think I should almost even not play Tinker combo. If I just like get to bring out Tinker, Citadel, Mana Crypt, Soul Ring. Is that crazy? I mean, I don't think I'm going to bring out the Bolt because they're playing like Ragavans and Lelias and Arcanists and stuff like that. Kind of need a Bolt to facilitate my Leyline plan. Oh, I can bring out Mystical and Vamp. It's pretty easy. I wonder if it's too crazy. But I think that Tinker is not really put, like, obviously it's great to resolve a Tinker, but if my opponent's playing like 3 Pyroblast, 3 Flusterstorm, like, so I don't think it's unreasonable to cut top, but I do like how top plays with Shredder, to be perfectly honest. I think top is nice with Shredder, so Crypt is better than off-color Moxen. I don't really think that's the case. I don't believe that's the case. This is a kind of matchup where the game, like if we leyline them, the game could go extremely long. And I think Crypt is kind of a liability. No, I think a Braid and Bolt are important. My opponent is playing like random creatures. Wow, this hand sucks. Like these hands have been very underwhelming, right? Like I made the first hand work, but holy hell. I mean, we only have 2 Sagas in our deck. I don't know. Just been very, like these hands don't include, you know, power and Moxen and like very little restricted cards. I almost not want to not cast DT. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. I guess we should just cast DT. Like, I have 3 cards that all use the graveyard is not ideal. Oh, what do you even fetch here, though? Alright, they have a Fluster anyways. So this puts us, what? Still pretty far away from digging. Well, like, they're not the restricted cards that you want to have in your hand. Like, these are the restricted cards you want to draw on turn 5 after your opponent counters all your spells, right? Like, these are very much not Ancestral, Time Walk, Moxen. Like, they're very much dead cards right now. Yeah, like, I want to draw Ancestral Recall. Shit. I don't know. Maybe I'm just supposed to mulligan my hand. Maybe I'm just supposed to mulligan both hands. Definitely possible. I don't have as good a grasp of what the hand range for this kind of deck is. Hey, I drew an Ancestral. The problem is my Ancestral has like 0 chance of ever resolving. Shit. It's gonna be very hard to find a window where this Ancestral is playable. I think I'm gonna... Jeez, they can hold up negation this way. My god. I mean, I think it makes sense to cast it now because it beats Fluster, but I'm just gonna get Pyroblasted. But this lets me maybe go breach another Ancestral or something. Well, like, do you think that hand is good in the Breach Mirror? Because I kind of felt like it was reasonable in the Breach Mirror. So I could go Jet, Breach, Demonic. No, I could go Jet, Breach, Ancestral. I could go just Jet, Dig, Jet, Cruise, and lose my Ancestral and my Demonic. Man, this is like very, very, very awkward. Kind of wish I just had like a Ledger Shredder, but... I'm just gonna die to Saga. My deck just doesn't do anything. Maybe I should have just played Jet and then gone for an end of turn dig. The problem is that leaves me with nothing. Like, they just counter the dig, and I actually, like, I don't have like, playing on their end step makes sense when I have something to untap into. What is happening? Why does my opponent have a Graph Digger's Cage? Why are they tapping their Saga? What is going on? I'm so confused. I don't know what's happening. I don't get it. That's a great draw. Fuel my delve spells. I mean, I have to hope this resolves, unfortunately, but I can pitch my Underworld Breach, fuel my delve spells. This is a really solid draw. I have a feeling it's getting Pyroblasted based on my opponent's line here, but yeah, that is the downside to Shredder. It is definitely the downside. Nah, he's named Harvey. Harvey Birdman. I'm so confused. Let's get a top. They have a top in their deck? No. Okay, what's going on? Yeah, I mean, I guess if you just draw Lelia, yeah, I mean, we're gonna lose this game by a lot. They haven't cast any draw spell. Oh, I guess they cast Ancestral Recall. They hit Ragavan off their Ley. Okay, yeah. Well, my Ley line looks stupid here because my opponent clearly did not plan to breach combo, or they just put a cage in and forgot. Man, they're just not casting Ragavan. What? I don't understand. I'm so confused. I mean, they clearly have a Pyroblast or a Flusterstorm, but I have to jam this turn. I don't really have a choice anymore. I need to find a bolt right now for this Lelia, or I will lose. So I mean, maybe I should just mulligan. I have a feeling that the hands I kept were just bad, and we have to use the London mulligan to find more broken hands. To be fair, my opponent resolved Ancestral in both games, right? So, oh, they have Force. They have Force plus a counter spell. I mean, this is the difference between resolving Ancestral and not resolving Ancestral. I do think you have to abuse like mulligans in Vintage, and this I didn't really do it in this case. I'm very dead. I don't know. Maybe I just can't believe they brought in a cage. So wild to me. I mean, I took out Tinker from my deck, so it's not even like this. It stops. They hit Time Walk. All right. Yeah. Okay. Sure. You got it, homie. Well, I actually would have hit Bolt off of that Dig Through Time. That's kind of dope. I would have hit Bolt, killed Lelia. Honestly, kind of feels winning from there. I get to take Bolt plus Narset. Oh, well. Well, that's not a good start. All right, let's try again. This is now round 2, Vintage Challenge. I'm a little sad about round 1 because I think I probably just kept bad hands that didn't let us really try to play the game. So hopefully I can do the better this time. Probably playing against Esper Tinker, I would assume. That is in Zuros' range, but could be a different one. Oh no, that is a Lurrus of the Dream Den. Uh-oh. All right, so this hand's bad. Even I can identify that this hand is bad. I'm going to assume my opponent's probably on the standstill. What is these hands? These hands are like 4 lands, 3 unplay. It's just not good. I got the mulligan again. Holy hell. I think I've used up all of my any luck I did have. So the nice part about this is if my opponent is on like a white weenie deck, we do have one of our lightning bolts. However, if they're on a white weenie deck, we're probably just gonna die. If they're on the 4-color Lurrus deck, then we have some more game. Oh my lord. An unboltable Tarmogoyf, huh? Okay. Oh my god. Yeah, alright, cool. Well, honestly, the Goyf will probably kill us. Yeah. Bolting the 2/3 Goyf as it becomes a 3/4, not the strongest play. It's the 5-color code provider Brian Kelly style deck. It's not a bug deck. It's very different from bug to be perfect. It's not very different, but I think it's different enough from bug that it's a different deck in my mind. Maybe it's not. Don't believe we're gonna be able to beat a Tarmogoyf though, unless we find some action very fast. We mulled a 5 and our hand is fairly medium. Our opponent runs a pile of counter magic and wastelands. It's very likely we just don't end up with the cards we need to play the game. All right, my opponent has Jet Force. I did draw the Ancestral, so I'm just going to hope that they don't draw a Wasteland, and then I'm going to go Merchant Scroll for a Force of Will, and then go from there. I guess if they just draw a blue card, then they can hold up negation plus will. So maybe that's not even a valuable line. Yep. The problem is I just don't think 3 random cards are going to do it for us here. Shredder, Mana Crypt, Citadel. Like, I do want a Shredder, but I don't really want Mana Crypt, Citadel, so kind of can't take that. Sapphire. My opponent cracked. So I guess we should just test to see if opponent drew a blue card. I mean, I don't think we can wait. Our opponent can just cast nothing. So I think we should just Ancestral now, make our opponent... Like, if our opponent drew a blue card, they have negation, hard cast, plus Force of Will, and then we just lose. But if we wait, they can have a lot more things. So... Like, they should never cast another spell this whole game. They should just hold up negation the whole time, right? I guess I could just let it get countered and dig. Well, the problem is if they negate it, then I can't dig. Well, I guess I could bolt them and then dig. I mean, if they drew Fluster, like, yeah, they let it resolve, and I drew a bunch of nothing. I guess that works too. Does let us dig, though. I probably have to bolt. They drew Wasteland. Yeah. Well, I don't have to bolt anymore because of my land going into my yard. Two more hits on this. Can we do... Okay, so now they're cracking. What do we got? Nothing. Okay. Soul Ring. I'm gonna do it again in the same spot. Oh, they drew a dig? Oh, they drew a Vigor. So I know their exact hand here. So does it make sense to try to think about this at all? I feel like we're gonna try to resolve it now. So I'm gonna go to 5. There already is an artifact in the yard. This lets me save some cards in my yard, like Ancestral and Merchant Scroll, probably. Yeah, Ancestral Merchant Scroll. I guess I could have let it happen and then done and saved even more cards. But I guess this puts the same number of cards back in, right? I don't really care about other cards. Wow, these cards are not going to get the job done, right? So they're just trying to... They're not countering because they know that if they just can hold up negation, if they find another blue card off the top, we won't be able to do anything. So if we take... Well, a Ledger Shredder should buy us a turn. So I should just take Ledger Shredder plus Demonic, I guess. Yeah. Oh, the problem is I can't actually use this fetch land and force. So... Yeah, I'm not really sure how we're winning this game. I told you the Tarmogoyf would kill us. Maybe this deck is just terrible. Shit. Like, if I draw Black Lotus... I drew an Underground. Okay, all right. So I can play a Ledger Shredder and bolt the Deathrite Shaman. That makes the most sense to me. I need a lot more just better hands, right? My hands have just not been good. What did we mold to this game? 5? Yeah, I mold to 5 this game. All right. Well, I definitely don't want this land that I can't use. They're just letting this happen again? Interesting. I mean, they're still just banking on the fact that if they draw a blue card, I won't be able to survive, right? They haven't drawn a blue card yet. They've drawn, green card, Wasteland. But the minute they draw a blue card, they can negate and force. I keep drawing the random green creatures. All right, so this is our turn. We might be able to win this game. We still need to draw something to help us here. Maybe not. So if I demonic for Black Lotus, oh no, now I have an emerald, so I can demonic for. Okay, so I demonic for Breach. I cast Breach. I cast. No, I just don't have enough. So demonic for Lotus. Well, no, I can Treasure Cruise first. Yeah, I think we just start by cruising. Shredder, land, Soul Ring, dig, ponder, bolt. And well, I have a demonic, so well, I have to draw something. I can't win off of just breaching here. I could technically go demonic, underworld breach, sapphire, ancestral, but I think that's worse. Do I get rid of Merchant Scroll or do I get rid of Ancestral? I guess I have Demonic, so I shouldn't need a Merchant Scroll. We're hoping to draw one of our combo pieces. Like if I draw a Breach, I can Demonic for Black Lotus. Well, the DT costs black mana, so it's not exactly the same, but... I'm pretty sure I'm on the right line here, so... I kind of hope my opponent forces it so I can get another card in my yard. Yeah. I mean, I need to draw an extra piece. I don't have enough in my hand with just Demonic, so I think this is the one that gives me the most opportunities. Just casting Cruise, seeing what we draw, and then demonicking for something after we... Like, if we draw a Lotus, then I can demonic for Breach and go... Even that still needs some more stuff, I think, but... All right. So I've known they have had this the whole time. I counter it. Let's see what we draw. So now we have a lot of mana. So I don't know. I'm just going to play it and find out what happens after. No, I don't have another black source. I could get Breach. They don't have any. I could get Breach and cast Ancestral. Nah. I'm going to get just... I can just tinker and get a Sphinx, right? I don't think there's an Underworld Breach kill. I can Breach into an Ancestral, but that doesn't seem very good. What does the Reclaimer do? They drew Ancestral off the top. Okay. No, they don't play Maze. I don't think the Reclaimer does anything. Pretty sure this should win. They can find Beseiju. Like, they can Ancestral into Beseiju. That's the only way we lose. My opponent had 0 cards in hand. They top decked Ancestral Recall, so. The Artifact Kill Land? What world are we living in? What world are we living in where we think they actually have something off Reclaimer that matters? I've never seen a list that has something that matters with Reclaimer. It just gets Strip Mines. The Black Lotus was the next card in my library, so I actually would have won the game by Ancestraling. No, I would have lost my DT. DT for Breach, then Time Walk. I mean, I played my Crypt, so I can't do that. Yeah, I mean, they Ancestraled into Jace, and I don't think. I mean, the thing is, they just Ancestral into Beseiju and I lose, but whatever. Yeah, so if I didn't play Mana Crypt, I could have Time Walked and then gone for a Breach Kill on the next turn, but I still only have 1 black source. It's probably a kill, though, because I have more mana. Yeah, I probably just threw a victory. It's fine. It's fine. I really don't want to cast this freeze on myself because they can just get a Bajuka Bog. But I don't know like what I'm supposed to do with this freeze. So, I mean, I don't have any plays left in this game. It's my opponent is gonna draw, and if they hit Beseiju, they win. If they don't hit Beseiju, they lose. That's the whole game right now. I don't get to make any more plays this game. I guess they technically could plus on this to buy another turn. Oh, they went for Time Walk? Now I have no idea what's going on. Oh, they just drew Beseiju. Okay, so we lose. All right, so yeah, I probably threw this game, right? I could have just, I probably had Time Walk into kill. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Sphinx is going to lose most of the time there because my opponent has 0 cards in hand. Oh, well. All right, so my opponent is playing the pile deck, and I don't have cards to bring in, I guess. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing about play mistakes, though, right? Is they'll lose you. Like most of the time they won't lose you the game, but then like you need to prevent the times that it will lose you the game, and I didn't do that, so kind of like the difference between a good player and a great player, etc., etc. I don't have any cards for this deck, right? I guess Needle. I feel like Needle is so bad against these decks, but I guess it's fine. Kind of don't want Citadel or Mystical. I don't know. I have to go back and look at it, chat. I can time walk and then breach on the next turn, but I haven't done the math, so I don't know if that's deterministic. This Needle art is awful. Well, you have awful opinions on art. What do you want from me? I think this Needle art is fantastic. It's easily the best Needle art by a large margin. That's not even a Needle. Needle is definitely like a dagger. Needle is definitely slang for a small blade. So I'm gonna have to disagree again. Twitch chat killing me tonight. Shit. Do be like that sometimes. All right, turn 1 Ledger Shredder. Every bug player's worst nightmare. Like, I will go back. Don't worry. At the end of this video, we'll go back and look and see if I had a time walk kill. I don't know, because I obviously didn't do the math on a time walk kill. I did the math on exactly killing that turn and on putting a Sphinx into play. Those are the only things I did the math on. Why is there also a Tundra in this deck? That's so crazy to me. Oh. Hello there. Why, yes, I would like those powerful magic cards that opponent used to kill me. How did you know? It's exactly what I would like. No, there's a Tundra. Yeah, I mean, I think there is swords in that deck, but it's because they need it to cast Lurrus. No, they don't need it to cast Lurrus. I'm pretty sure what Code Provider said was that he could never beat Hogak, which is crazy to me. Because the deck is like all anti graveyard cards. So they have to like splash swords for defeating Hogak, I guess. I got to get rid of this mana crypt though. That was nice. Thank you, Birdman. It feels weird to like bring in swords against just Sphinx of the Steel when you have access to like 3 or 4 Besejus. I'm pretty sure the decks play like 3 Besejus in the 75. I don't have a follow-up spell for this, so I don't believe I'm going to cast this Ancestral right now. I'm gonna probably cast it on their turn. Don't really see a reason to play into negation here. Well, now I'm going to cast Ancestral because it's going to let me trigger Shredder if they cast another spell. I can still pay for Flusterstorm, so. And now I drew a Flusterstorm. And now I get to trigger my Shredder. This card's so sick. And I can get rid of this Mox Emerald that I don't want. Man, I love this card. It's really just a good time. I have drawn a lot of mana, though. All right, my opponent's off it. Cool. I don't really want to overload on Flusters or Hydros or anything like that, or Pyros or anything like that. It's possible Soul Guide Lantern's fine, but it also runs into Collector oof, so. Birdman, my only good play in my entire deck? It's possible. It's definitely possible that the only good play in my entire deck is this card. Emerald worse than a land there? Well, pitching a land means I don't get a +1/+1 counter. So it's better to pitch the Emerald for sure. Like, I do want my Birdman to be a large clock that ends the game, so. The nice part is I'm pitching a mana that also is not a land, so I get +1/+1 counters. I'm gonna just keep the extra land. My opponent is a mana denial deck. I don't think I want to counter that. Guess I'll turn off this Reclaimer. Nice. 1 mana, 1/2. Oh, fuck off! I don't know why I bother, man. Every time. Every single time. Oh, I'll fetch around Wasteland. Have you met my friend Strip Mine? Well, a problem here is if my opponent vigors me, I kind of have to counter now. But I do think it makes sense to play this Saga and try to get it going and maybe find a Black Lotus. Also, I really don't want my Volcanic to get strip mined. My Volcanic is a much more powerful card than Saga right now, as it actually casts my spells. So I think it makes sense to play this out, even though it exposes me to something like Vigor Fluster. Tundra. Time Walk. Sure, yeah. What can we do? They have Saga in their deck as well. Interesting. Nothing like a 4-color deck to throw in a couple colorless lands to go with your colorless wastelands. All right, fair enough. It feels weird to put a Saga in a deck that's playing like all these colors: Deathrite Shaman, Wasteland, Collector Oof. Like, I guess maybe they have problems closing games, but maybe as a one of it makes sense. I don't think I'm allowed to fight over something like that. As much as it turns my Saga into a very, very bad card. I shuffled you away because I didn't want you. Well, the good news is I have some Birdmans, so that should stem the bleeding a little bit. The bad news is the Saga is going away because Saga is bad against Collector Roof, no matter what Zoomers tell you. 2 shredders in play might be enough. Though, this thing's gonna get bigger when the saga goes away, huh? This is gonna be an extremely hard game to win. Kind of need to draw Preordain off the top. They're just not gonna make a saga token. What is... Why is it in your deck, then? I'm so confused. That's kind of a nice card, but it's just gonna get countered. I don't think I'm allowed to cast Brainstorm here, so I'm just gonna cast another Shredder. Still supposed to get Black Lotus, even though it's turned off. It's really bad if this gets... It's not super bad if this gets forced. I force back. They have to sack this, and I get to loot. Interesting game of Magic here. Feels like we're playing Modern or something. Are you gonna make a construct now? Nope. Okay, so it just searches you an artifact that is turned off because your deck is playing Collector Roof. Wild. Does make this Reclaimer almost big enough, yeah? Oh no, it does make this Reclaimer big enough to get through my oof on my Ledger Shredders. All right, some value. We'll have to turn on these Shredders at some point. Soul Guide Lantern. Okay. Maybe they'll hit their own strip mine. No? Unlucky. I mean, I can block a 3/4 the minute I cast 2 spells in a single turn. Jesus. Okay. The problem is I currently have a hard time casting spells because my Saga disappeared and turned into a turned off Black Lotus, and my basic island got strip mined. Okay. Awesome. I can play 2 spells on their turn and maybe... it's just not gonna work because this thing is just gonna get bigger. I'm just gonna lose to Goyf again. Just gonna lose to Goyf again. I think I'm supposed to just cast this Brainstorm first. I don't have anything that's gonna be able to kill this Karmagoyf, right? Oh my lord. Okay. Well, I have good stuff to pitch to these Shredders. That's nice. Oh my god. All right, fair. Do I want to pitch Underworld Breach? I think so. I need to find Tinker. The problem is I can't cast this Tinker. I just have to time walk into a Tinker. No, I can't cast this Tinker because there's going to be a fucking Malevolent Hermit. All right, I don't know how we can ever win this game, to be honest. I don't know how we're going to win this game. I think it's lost. I can't resolve a spell, chat. There's a Malevolent Hermit in play. I am unable to resolve a spell. None of my spells, none of my non-creature spells will resolve. It's the same reason that Tinker doesn't work. Saga is not going to be good enough. I just don't think Growing the Birds is like... I'm going to be at 5, 6. Can't really play Probe. Maybe I was supposed to play Vamp first so I could get Saga. That would have maybe worked. Saga doesn't make big boys. That's the problem. If I had gone Vamp first, then Saga may have been enough. But I didn't go Saga. I didn't go Vamp first because it's like there's a chance. I don't have enough time. I am at 11 life. I cannot block this Tarmogoyf. This is a vampiric tutor. I will not get the card I take. Chat is killing me. I can't resolve a time walk. Sniped. Why are you like this today? I don't think there's any card I can resolve, to be fair. I'm trying to figure out a line. I need to try to figure out a way to cast 2 spells. They're also like a Wasteland deck. Also, they're a Force of Vigor deck. Like, Saga has its own set of problems here. I go to 6, cast Probe, go to 4. These become 3, 5. The problem is they're too wide for a Probe line to work. The problem is they're far too wide for that kind of line to work. But I kind of need a free spell. If they counter Time Walk, and I draw Tinker, and then I draw land, it's kind of hard to say. There's just not much here, unfortunately. Maybe like the biggest problem here is I should definitely have vamped. If I had vamped first, obviously I lose out on my ability to maybe Brainstorm fetch, but then I could have gotten a Saga and then cast Brainstorm, gotten my Saga, and then I could start making chump blockers. So if I had sequenced that differently, I think Saga was actually a reasonable thing to get, but because the way I sequenced it, I couldn't do Saga. I also kind of thought they were going to use their Malevolent Hermit when they just had a Flusterstorm. Like, if they had used their Malevolent Hermit on the Brainstorm, then I can actually vamp. Like, so the idea is if they use the Malevolent Hermit on the Brainstorm, then my vamp can actually get me a card that matters. Down to 4. Block, jump, block. I'll die. So I have to jump here. Well, I mean, we can't play around Fluster. I don't think you don't play around Fluster, right? So I'm trying to play my best line into my known information. They have a Swords as well? Wow. Wait, we beat Swords. Oh, they have a Crop rotation. And so they're going to get, what, a Strip Mine? I don't know. Like, there's no point in playing around a Fluster. I think that's just a card you... Well, we can beat a Fluster if we... Like, the way we beat a Fluster is to switch our line and go... Well, yeah, they would probably just counter the Vampiric anyways. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to, like, think of ways to play around it, and it doesn't really seem anything. Yeah, maybe they just Fluster the Vamp, and then I have a Brainstorm that... Like, the Brainstorm resolving without a fetch land is just not as good, right? So, it's kind of hard to say. Yeah. This is a 6/7 Goyf. I mean, even if I probe now, I don't actually have a card left to use on this. So, like, growing this doesn't actually do anything for me. I can block here and then I die. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, we got fucking mowed over. It really probably just comes back to that game one. Should have probably played better. Let's go quick peek. I believe that chat was right. There's probably time walk into breach kill. Oh, awesome. Glad you're enjoying it. Glad someone can enjoy some vintage, because I certainly can't. I just get bowed over. Woo! All right, if I go here, could I have... It's not pay 2, it's pay 3, so no. All right, so from here, I'm not sure this is deterministic. So I play Time Walk, and I play Demonic, and I get Breach, and I untap with an unknown card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Breach, I have to hit a land. No, I have a mana crypt. So yeah, I have just very deterministic. Man, I just have a very deterministic kill here. I just need to Time Walk, Demonic for Breach, and then untap and go Breach, Demonic, freeze. Well, no, I don't have a Black Lotus for that. So I don't have a deterministic, right? I only have enough for one spell out of my yard. I have a Time Walk. So I'll have Time Walk and Demonic in my yard. I'm just trying to figure out if this is deterministic. I have 7 mana. I Breach, Demonic. Sorry, I there's a Demonic in my yard. I cast Breach. I have 5 mana. 3 blue and red mana. I have 6 cards in my yard. I Demonic for Lotus. I have Demonic plus 2 cards in my yard. No. It doesn't sound deterministic unless I draw something else, right? I need to draw another card that goes in my yard. I would need any spell. But it has to be a spell that I can cast as well. And it has to be a spell that goes in the graveyard. Yeah, this is non-deterministic. I guess neither is Tinkering, but DT Breach, DT Freeze, and then just hope I hit Lotus. Yeah, it's probably better. That is probably better. I just like hope to hit Lotus, and because I do have a bunch of extra mana, right? I have DT, so I would have Breach. I would have DT, and then I would have Freeze, and then I would have 2 more blue sources, plus a Sapphire. That's probably good enough. Would Demonic for Breach, DT for Tinker Lotus? DT Breach, DT Freeze, 15 cards. And I'm at 36 cards. DT Breach... So I have Breach. I have 6 cards. I DT for Tinker into a Lotus. Demonic for... That sounds like it works. That does sound like it works, right? Because that puts an extra card in our yard, and we have the mana to do that. So DT for Tinker, Tinker for Lotus, DT for Freeze. That does sound like it works. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not practiced enough in this deck to know that one, but it's definitely something to consider. I felt like putting a Sphinx in play with 3 attacks and a Time Walk felt reasonable and required less thinking because my opponent had 0 cards in hand. They top decked Ancestral, and their Ancestral top decked them Jace, and their Jace top decked them, and then they top decked Boseiju, right? So I don't think it's unreasonable to go for a Tinker line here with Time Walk because it's 2 turns when they have 0 cards in hand. But yeah, if there was a deterministic, like clearly, obviously, a deterministic Demonic Tutor line is better. I just didn't see it. It's not exactly straightforward, but all right. Good to know. Okay, round 3. Looking for better play, better hands. Can't get a better deck. That's too late. It does kind of feel like the deck looks like it works, but I've just been playing badly and have had bad variants, which is not a good combination. Well, freezing yourself after Mox out of the yard is... It's still not deterministic, whereas the Tinker line was deterministic. What are these hands? What are these hands? This is why I don't play 15 land decks, 16 land decks. Give me 13 land decks. Is this even good? Yeah, I mean, that's a good line, but obviously it's not a simple line either. I definitely didn't think about that line, so. What deck has Shredder performed best in? I actually think Shredder's performed best in the Stoneblade deck. Yeah, I don't think I am a competent breach pilot. I won't go that far. Am I just supposed to put 9 cards in my yard here and hope it works? Probably not. I think the likelihood of that winning is very low. I don't have a pedal in my deck. Like, simply adding an additional land drop gives me a much higher chance of winning because I can hit, like, Ancestral and Cruise and those kind of spells. I could also draw, like, a Ledger Shredder and, like, you know, do things here, but... I guess I could just get Flusterstormed, and then I have, what, nothing? Not nothing, but... I don't know. We're 0-2. Why don't we play for science now? Sounds like fun. I guess it's just so bad into Fluster. All right, my opponent just forces it. All right, well... All right. I mean, I have nothing else, right? Am I still supposed to breach myself or freeze myself? Probably not, because I don't have good ways of recurring breach. No, I'm playing against breach again. This is a Lurrus style breach. Oh, I'm so off it though. I don't think this deck is bad. I just think I'm bad. Is the conclusion that I've come to make. I have an extremely terrible record with this deck. But I also feel like my opponents are casting way more restricted cards than I am. That's not it's not me being crazy, right? Like my hands have just not been good. That's kind of a hard thing about Vintage is evaluating when is the deck doing well? When are you hitting high ends of variance? When are you hitting low ends of variance? How much has your play affected your win loss? Like that is a really hard thing to parse, and you can get easily lost in the sauce. My opponent just has a breach kill here. Okay, like I've played 2 mirrors, and my opponents have just had much better cards than I have, right? Am I crazy? But it's important to know that I'm not trying to justify like poor play or hide poor play. I'm just trying to determine where things went wrong, and I think it's very likely that these hands were just not good. And to be fair, part of that is me keeping bad hands. But like a lot of this, I have mulliganed. I mulliganed to 5 and 6 quite a lot this tournament, right? I believe that's the case. We almost won on our 5-card mulligan. If I had found the deterministic time walk line, that would have been a win. Oh, I don't think it's possible to kill them with a brain freeze. My opponent's deck is like a brain freeze deck. They know they're not going to cast a draw spell. They're just going to mill over their whole deck with brain freeze and then kill us. They're never drawing cards. That's not a thing. And even if they did, they would have like a Flusterstorm in their yard at some point. This is a cool deck though. This is the Lurrus Breach version that plays Predict. I'm a big Predict fan. Though I think this card is probably worse than playing a Ledger Shredder. Like the times we've had turn 1 Ledger Shredder, our deck looked quite good. But yeah, I need to make sure that I'm like correctly evaluating that the like is the shell bad? Am I so bad that I'm making the shell bad? Because I haven't done a great job of that recently. I have done a great job of losing recently though. I don't think I have any of my play point stash left. I might have very little of my play point stash left from winning. What did we win? Or from top 8ing the top 4ing the qualifier. I do I do think that I don't like Tinker and Breach. But my problem is there's so much like there's so much incidental hate for Breach that I don't want to play all like I don't want to play a 3 Breach 2 freeze deck because there's so much random stuff like, oh, there's a Collector Roof in play, so now I can't use my Lotus. Oh, there's a Deathrite Shaman in play, so they can snag my cards, or like there's a random Soul Guide Lantern out of Esper Tinker. It just doesn't feel like the Breach combo itself is super good, and I don't want to go all in on it, but I also don't feel like the deck plays super well with the Tinker half of the deck. Isn't Breach and Saga a good combo? What do you mean? So like you also have a problem with Saga where you're exposed to Force of Vigor on both parts of your combo and your card, and it also makes your deck like incredibly weak to Wasteland. Like it's not actually helping in my mind. Like I do think you're supposed to play Saga in Breach because I think that tutoring for Lotus is very important. So I do like Saga in Breach, but I don't think Saga is like a viable alternative game plan. It just doesn't work on enough of the time. A lot of the decks where you would want an alternative game plan are also good against Saga. Like, oh, my opponent is playing Deathrite Shaman Collector Roof. I guess I need to find another way to kill my opponent. Oh, but they're also running Force of Vigor and Wasteland. So, like, Saga is not actually a different way to kill my opponent. Saga Painter? Well, the thing with Painter is it's typically just better to play Vault Key combo than to play, like, Painter Servant is not a... Painter Servant and Grindstone are both not very good Magic cards. So, like, putting a pile of Painter Servants and Grindstones into your deck is not advisable. And you're also in a format that has a lot more graveyard and artifact-based hate. So my opponent is doing the same thing we are, which they're brain freezing their library and then brain freezing our library and casting Ancestral, targeting us. All right, so I'm going to bring in a Soul Guide Lantern and a Hydroblast and a Pyroblast and a Flusterstorm and Leyline of the Voids, and I'm going to take out Island, Sphinx, Tinker, Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, Sensei's Top, Mystical, and go like this. Well, the problem is, like, Time Vault in Breach also doesn't help you against the thing. Like Time Vault, the Time Vault combo is weak against Collector Roof and Force of Vigor. So again, it's not helping you with an alternative game plan. In my mind, the best alternative game plan so far that I've seen from a Breach deck is actually Lelia. So if you play maybe Lelia and Ledger Shredder, that could be pretty good. The problem with Ledger Shredder as an alternative win con is it gets hit by Pyroblast. But the good thing is the Pyroblast decks are not also typically the decks that are playing like the Collector. Well, that's not even really true. Yeah, well, I think Lelia synergizes a bit better than Tarmogoyf, especially if opponents like leylining you. Like Lelia, you saw in our round one, we played against Breach and we brought in Leyline and our opponent killed us with Lelia. That's what I kind of thought. Like, that's why I really like the idea of Shredder in this deck, because Shredder is an alternative game plan that also synergizes with your main plan. Whereas I feel like Lelia is an alternative game plan that doesn't have very much synergy with your main plan, but it's like a high enough value creature that it's fine. What am I doing here? Am I just playing Lantern Go? What, am I supposed to keep this hand? Shit. I guess I'm just gonna hold this. Maybe I'm not even supposed to keep this. Like, this hand is not strong. And that's what I none of these sevens that I've kept are like, wow, I'm threatening to kill on turn 2. Wow, I have a Ledger Shredder on turn 1. None of my hands have been like that. No, Breach is not really a turn 1 deck. Even the 3 Breach, 2 Freeze deck is more of a turn, like, 2 or 3 deck. Interesting. I feel like I just get Pyroblasted if I played this, or it gets attacked. Don't really like the idea of playing a Narset here. It feels awful to play a Narset here. Maybe. I don't feel like pondering with a no fetch land is a good play though. Like, that's not like ponder is not that great of a cantrip if you don't have ways to affect the second and third cards. So I feel like playing a ponder on turn 1 is not great. I mean, this is just not going to resolve, right? Well, they have 4 cards in hand. I think it's worth playing. It's a high enough upside. Do I double force this? So if I force this and they counter and then I fluster, does that sound good for me? Doesn't sound great for me, but I also don't think it sounds bad. kind of awkward. This is probably too aggressive. Also, they get a bunch of value, which is not ideal. I'm just gonna get out card advantage or out card qualityed or out card something here. They chose not to keep a Saga. That's kind of interesting. This feels like a game where a Saga would be good. Oh, what the? Oh, all right. All right. I misclicked. I didn't realize they pyroblasted targeting Narset. Is it worth continuing to play this game? Yeah, I'm just kind of off it, chat. I think I am just done. Saga is an enchantment, that is true. I can't even see what cards are not coming next because Magic Online's broken. Okay, well, yeah. Obviously, I did not play well today, and it showed, but I hope you can, like, maybe take... I hope people who are interested in Breach can maybe take this idea and try it, because I do feel like Shredder was one of the better cards in my deck, and when I played Turn 1 Shredder, that was the one game I won. Yeah, I'm sorry for chat. I just did not play well today, and the hands I kept were not good, and the hands I kept were not good, and the hands I mulliganed turn 2 were not good, so that did not help either. I did miss a nice lethal win. That was pretty cool though. Tinkering for Lotus. I would never have thought of that. So that's pretty sweet. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna play any more Breach combo decks just because I don't really like the playstyle enough to get better at it. But I do think it's a deck that is still worth exploring. I think Breach in general is underexplored in Vintage. There are not enough dedicated pilots to it. So there's a lot of debate on what is the best way to build Breach, and no one really knows the answer to that question. So I think it's a good question. I think people should be trying to answer it because the payoff is there. This is a card that is banned in Legacy on power level reasons, so it's worth trying to figure out. This one didn't work, but maybe in the hands of a better Breach player it would work. Maybe in the hands, or in a better, if you have a better set of draws, maybe it works. But yeah, I think for me, I am going to probably put away the breaching and let the Breach players do the breaching. Sorry, again, this is a rough video, but thank you for making it to the end, and I will see you for the next one.